Coming up on Mountain News this morning, one local hospital is shutting down labor and delivery services, forcing expecting mothers to look elsewhere. And lawmakers are eyeing a bill that would potentially limit the governor's ability to pardon.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning and happy Thursday, Mountain family. My name's Amelia Lee, here with you on this Thursday, February 6th at 4:59. We've got about 20 seconds until we hit 5 o'clock this morning. Also means it's time to check on in with meteorologist Megan Dusmal for a look at the forecast. And Megan, I know that we are in a first alert weather day currently. I can hear the rain from outside the studio. Not sure if other folks can. I know when I walked in this morning, it was a little bit warm, a little bit windy, but now I am starting to hear that rain.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a rainy day. We'll continue to see the rain as we're tracking through the next couple hours. And as we continue to go through the next couple days, it's going to be a rainy week ahead. But let's talk about not only the rain, but the impacts it will have on you, starting with wind. We do have some elevated winds this morning. These are just the ambient wind temperature, wind speeds. We do have some higher wind gusts. Someplace we're seeing wind gusts in the upper 30s this morning. We'll continue to watch as those wind speeds are strong as we go through the next couple hours. Another thing to mention with this, of course, is the rain that we're expecting. We're continuing to watch that track through eastern Kentucky. Tons of lightning in the area. Now, as of right now, we're just tracking those storms. We're tracking that heavy rain, and we're tracking that heavy wind. We had some reports of hail, but there's only been two that I've seen so far this morning, so not a big concern at this point. But we'll continue to watch as this storm develops over the next couple of hours. Amelia.
All right, Megan, thank you. Well, Harlan ARH is suspending labor and delivery services at the end of the month. Hospital officials say it was a difficult decision, but ultimately came down to a decline in demand. Miracle Reisner, whose children were born at Harlan ARH, says she is concerned about the nearest alternative labor and delivery clinics being in Whitesburg and Middlesboro, close to an hour away.
If I would have drove over the mountain or to Middlesboro, I think is where they said the other one was, I wouldn't have made it. I would have had him in the car. The same way with my last birth before him. I can't risk my newborn's lives over that. There's too many women in the area that rely on that.
Registered nurse Katrina Enlow, who worked on the Harlan ARH labor and delivery floor for 5 years, also worries about the implications this could bring in an emergency situation.
That poses a lot of risks to our women in this community. Are they going to travel out? Are they going to be able to travel out of town? Do they have the means of, transportation to get that care that they need? And labor is unpredictable. Birth is unpredictable. Everything can't be planned out as much as we would like to.
WYMT spoke with hospital officials about the change. We'll have an in-depth look at the topic coming up in the next hour. Kentucky lawmakers could face some issues this legislative session that come as the result of actions in Washington, D.C. Kentucky Senate President was asked about a number of issues during a meeting at a Frankfort coffee shop yesterday. Some of the topics included Medicaid, the Department of Education, and minimum wage. Senate Democrats also announced their priorities on Wednesday. They include fully funding public education and helping people with housing.
Creating more affordable housing opportunities through tax credits and first-time homebuyer support.
Senator Reggie Thomas pushed a minimum wage hike for the past several sessions, but Democrats and Republicans feel much different about that. Thomas says raising the wage does not cost the state anything and will lead to more tax revenue. Lawmakers are discussing a bill that would limit the governor's pardon ability. Senate Bill 126 would prevent the governor from granting pardons 30 days before an election until the next inauguration. It's being proposed as a constitutional amendment. This means Kentuckians can vote on it. Yesterday, Senator Christian McDaniel spoke on the importance of this bill, saying it would create more accountability.
It is simply a common sense measure to put in front of the voters of the Commonwealth a change to the Constitution to force accountability into a process.
Lawmakers filed the bill in reaction to former Governor Matt Bevin's last-minute pardons. In the weeks before he left office, he pardoned the sentences of close to 600 people. Scott Turner was confirmed as President Trump's secretary for the Department of Housing and Urban Development after pledging to address housing shortages. The former NFL player and Texas state representative was confirmed in a 55-44 vote. HUD is tasked with enforcing and coordinating federal housing law. Senator Mitch McConnell reacted to Turner's confirmation as HUD secretary, saying, quote, his experience spearheading creative solutions like opportunity zones will be needed to cut bureaucratic red tape and reform our failed federal housing policies. I look forward to working with Secretary Turner to help the agency better serve the American people, particularly improving its delivery of resources to distressed communities. Speaking of the senator, U.S. Senator Mitch McConnell reportedly fell twice today at the Capitol in Washington. Reports say McConnell just casted a vote when he fell while walking down a small set of stairs near the Senate chamber. He then fell again at a policy lunch a short time after. A spokesperson for the 82-year-old senator is blaming the lingering effects of polio in his left leg, adding that he will now use a wheelchair as a precautionary measure. A bill has also once again been filed to end daylight savings time in the Commonwealth. House Bill 308 was introduced on Tuesday by Representative Stephen Doan. He filed a similar bill last year, aiming to stop the practice. That bill and another similar one in 2023 failed to advance. Well, thank you for getting your day started with us here on Mountain News this morning. Still to come, Google is walking back on a pledge to use its AI for good and away from military purposes.
And we are still tracking a storm as it's making its way through eastern Kentucky.